We also have talent scholarships in art, music, creative writing, and esports. Those are not need-based at all. They're all based on merit or achievement in those areas. And then we have significant need-based financial aid. So university grant dollars, federal direct student loans, the opportunity to work on campus.
Welcome everyone to Navigating Financial Aid. We're here at the University of Redlands, spectacular, awesome institution. We're here with the Vice President of Enrollment, Kevin. If you haven't watched Ask Admissions, please go watch that because he's part of that too. He's so entrenched here, and he's third generation, right? Third generation student here, and now works here, and just a plethora of information. And this is a really spectacular place. But we're going to get into the subject that's probably the most complicated, most challenging for people to try to figure out. And so let's kind of dive into, okay, I'm interested in, and I want, whether I watch the episode or, learned about it somewhere else, how do I figure out how much this is going to cost? Where do I begin the process of it all? What's your best advice to, students, parents, teachers out there to help navigate?
No, that's a great question. And it's totally backwards, right? I mean, you've got to actually go through the college application process, be admitted to an institution, apply for financial aid before you even find out what it's actually going to cost, right? And so part of what we do is try to help students and families understand what it likely will cost much earlier in the process. What I always tell students and families from the get-go is don't let the sticker price stand in the way of considering a school. Why? Because the vast majority of students and families are not going to pay the actual sticker price. Many institutions have generous academic scholarships based on how you've done in high school. And then there's also significant need-based financial aid out there. The other thing that to be aware of is every single college and university in the country has a net price calculator on their website. We're required to. And the net price calculator is intended to help you with some inputs as far as how have you done in high school, some of the information that you'll put into the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. This will help churn out what an estimated net cost would be for you to attend that university. So if you're researching colleges and universities, and you want to at least have a sense for what the cost might be, you can check out the nice net price calculator. For us here at Redlands, we've got academic scholarships for a number of our students who are admitted. You're automatically considered for an achievement award, which is like a merit scholarship based on how you've done in the courses that you've taken in high school. We also have talent scholarships in art, music, creative writing, and esports. Those are not need-based at all. They're all based on merit or achievement in those areas. And then we have significant need-based financial aid. So university grant dollars, federal direct student loans, the opportunity to work on campus, all of that can comprise a financial aid award. And we meet 95% of all of our students' demonstrated needs. So what can be very daunting and overwhelming at the beginning as far as looking at sticker price translates to actually being able to meet the vast majority of need and make it affordable and attainable for many of our students and families.
And I love how you're trying to help flip this model a little bit to help get that information. Oh, you just mentioned that some of the scholarships you're talking about, that's just when you're accepted and you decide to go here, you're automatically, it's not like extra paperwork that you need to do, or is that another?
Yeah, some
probably are.
The achievement awards, some are. You're just automatically considered, and then some of those talent scholarships, you would do an additional application or audition.
Yeah, it's great. And then there's, if I was looking at some stats here. I mean, it's like if your parents make under a certain amount of money, it's
the Redlands Promise.
Yeah. You want to talk about the Redlands Promise?
Yeah. So I was challenged by one of our board of trustee members about 5 years ago. He said, Kevin, you always say that it's really difficult to get students and families to kind of consider Redlands because they assume it's going to be out of their ballpark financially, right? Mm-hmm. How could we flip that? And again, communicate earlier what the actual net cost might be. And so we collaborated with other colleagues across campus and developed what we call the Redlands Promise. And the Redlands Promise says this. It says to many of our California applicants, right? If a California admitted student qualifies for the state need grant program, it's called the Cal Grant. We're going to commit that their full tuition will be covered in their first year. Okay, and for a student who might not qualify for the Cal Grant, but it is also from California and admitted to the university, most of those students are going to pay no more in tuition than the average cost of the local UC schools here in California, right? So all of a sudden you take a sticker price and you think there's no way I can make this work, and all of a sudden it's like, well, no. If you're looking at some of the California public institutions, tuition might be very comparable, right? And then for our out-of-state students, we say through the Redlands Promise, look, meet certain criteria, you're going to pay less than half of what the sticker price would be starting in that first year, right? And all of a sudden they realize, wow, this could be really attainable, and we'll guarantee they're going to graduate in 4 years, right? And so if the student meets their end of the bargain, and they don't graduate in 4 years, it's on us, and we'll make it right by then. But we can make that promise because we know that the vast majority of students who stay here for 4 years are walking across that stage at the end of 4 years.
Yeah, it's great. We talked about this in the episode that I was talking to the president about that earlier today. It's really impressive of how you just try to stay on track. As time is money is time, and being just conscious of that of everyone is awesome. Now might be a bad question. I mean, like, why are you asking me this question? I know you're going to say this, but it's like, and I've never asked this question ever before.
Okay.
But like, why? Like, okay. Because I've heard this before, like, no one pays the same price, right? You know what I mean? It's a common thing, and it's good for the audience to understand that.
Yeah.
Why don't we put prices out there then? I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
No.
I know. I'm just curious. I'm just talking from a higher education perspective, super macro level, not specific at University of Redlands, right? I'm just trying to say it's like, because it's very common. It's like, I wonder, it's like, do we just is that hurting higher education? It's like, let's just put this away, because everyone's in general going to be paying. There's all, as we talk about the FAFSA, no one's, a lot is like, where are you in life? Where are your parents in life? And how is that all going to come in? So you don't have to answer that question. Just something that popped in my head as we're making
Well, I'll speak to it from Redlands' perspective. I can't speak for everybody, but when I think about that, it's a great question. We pride ourselves on a very personalized education here, right? I mean, your average class size is going to be less than 20 students. And so the financial aid process is pretty personalized. The way we allocate our own institutional dollars to make Redlands affordable and attainable to students depends on how students have done, what they've done in high school and what they bring to the campus community, and also what their own personal circumstances are, right? Not every student and family is in the same position to be able to afford an education like this. And so the reason why we can't do it all up front is because we are trying to make sure that allocation of our own dollars and making the financial aid award work for various students and families is a pretty personalized process.
Yeah. Well, I love how you guys are, working with it. It's it's great. But I think even better. Sorry, I took it so. I just was burning a hole in my head as we were sitting here talking. It's like, but
I like that I'm the first person you asked that question.
Well, it's just, I think it's, you started this whole conversation. We're trying to flip it and trying to give more of that information up front, which I think is fantastic. But more importantly about all of this is really the ROI. It's something we all need to talk about more, because, it's really like, okay, this is time. It's a lot. I always say to people, I talk to a lot of high schoolers. The amount of people that are here to make sure your experience is awesome and to get you educated and ready for the real world. There's nothing like it. So you got to go to college. It's so important to go on and find the right fit for you. But finding that ROI, that's really the conversation. And I always say the business and labor statistics is a great, I'm talking macro level. It's like, for every piece of paper you get, you're probably going to do better in life and make more money. But I'd love for you to talk about it from here, University of Redlands, like the ROI on where you're going to be and succeed in life. And how that plays out.
There's probably no thing that I'm more passionate about than that question. And honestly, two recent examples. 10 days ago, I'm sitting with my high school daughter and her junior. She's assigned this junior English paper, and it's about, is college worth it? And I'm sitting there working through that and talking it through. I'm like, this is what I do.
Honestly, can I tell you something? It almost bothers me that becomes their essay. Like someone gave that as an essay. It's like, oh, geez.
Right. Fortunately, she'd already taken the position of yes. So then we were just working through the proof points, and there are many of them. Last night, I'm on campus in a student town hall, and I get asked a question, and I said, talking about cost and affordability is really important, and we spend a lot of time talking about cost and affordability, and I wish we spent more time talking about value investment and the return on that investment. And so I spent a lot of time talking with students' families about some of the proof points. So, for example, we know that at Redlands, half of our students borrow. Okay, half of our students are not borrowing to afford their education. Half of them are borrowing. Of those students who borrow, their debt at the end of 4 years is not what you read about in the papers or what you see in the headlines, right? It's actually more akin to the price of the first car, of a Honda Civic that you might purchase or whatnot. And I always tell students and families, what happens the moment you drive that Civic off the lot?
Yeah, right. That's great.
It depreciates in
I see where
value,
you're going. It's
right?
awesome. Yeah.
What happens with the college education? Well, as my daughter pointed out in her essay, it's worth $1 million more over the course of your career on average in earnings, right? Of our students who borrow, they're not having a problem paying back those loans, right? We measure and track student loan default rates, the percentage of graduates that are actually defaulting on their loans.
Okay.
And at Redlands, it's between 0 and 3% every year. Just for perspective, that's like 3 times less than the national average. And we also track earnings, right? We know that among 2,400 colleges and universities from pay scale, Redlands graduates' earnings are in the top 10%. So yes, you may borrow some. Half of our students do, but it's not an unreasonable amount. You'll be able to pay off those loans, and you're more likely to have a pretty solid career and earnings. So I can't talk enough about that piece.
And I think you should be so proud about that for the University of Redlands. I would love to steal you and have you come with me when I have to go, because I talk to the press all the time, and I'm speaking on behalf. But what you just articulated. I know it's not everywhere, and there's so many different paths and different ways to go through theirs. But a lot of times the headlines, and it bothers me about the headlines, because there's no question. It's like, yes, you should go to college.
Right.
Like that. It is a profounding yes, and there's ways to do it, and there's a little bit of personal responsibility on the student as well to be like, yeah, like what am I going to school for? Where am I hoping to get a job with after? What school am I going to?
Absolutely.
What are these rates that these different statistics that you're speaking about? There's some personal responsibility, but these things that go off in the media, and people are just like, come on, like. It's because I always say business, labor, and statistics. It's all the proof is right there. It's like for every piece of paper, starting in high school to a certificate or an associate's or bachelor's, all the way up to your doctorate, your earnings on average go up and your unemployment goes down. It's very simple.
It's too much focus on the outliers
Yeah.
and or graduate school, which is
Yeah.
right. If you're going to law school or med school, maybe taking on some additional debt is going to be worth it, right?
So, is there anything else that we should be talking about in this? We covered a lot.
I think we've covered a lot.
Yeah. Well, I just want to encourage the audience out here. I mean, Kevin's awesome. University of Redlands is awesome. I think what's I've seen, our whole crew seen since we've been here, is that you all are so warm, open, and so I just think, whether it's from this episode or anything, like reach out. Like the best first step is, if you can get to campus, that'd be great. But reach out, a phone call, an email, let them know that you're interested, and then your teams can kind of take it from there. And you're not alone, because that's the biggest thing. You don't want some people out there and you're alone. Everyone is so nice and help you navigate this space.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Hey,
This is awesome.
my pleasure.
Yeah,
Real
cool.
fun.
Yeah, and I want to meet your daughter. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Looking for her fighting the good fight.
Maybe she'll be 4th generation.
Yeah. Is she coming? Yeah, you want to take that call right now? All right, cool. Yeah, I gotta go for it. All right, everyone, we appreciate it. We'll see you soon.